My personal backstory. I'm going to save you the details about the childhood and the youth and all that kind of stuff. So let's cut back to 2004, 2005, where I actually got onto um, a canoeing trip, or at least the idea to do a canoeing trip all the way up north in Norway, Sweden. But that trip did not happen, basically because of a car accident the evening we wanted to leave. But anyways, that whole trip and that whole preparation brought me into canoeing, whitewater canoeing. So basically I started taking courses, started to get the hang of it, starting to get fun in it. I took a trip the year after in Norway, Sweden on the border, which was absolutely amazing. And I started to help my fellow paddlers on the go. So slowly I got into teaching canoeing, coaching canoeing. I got certified as a whitewater canoe instructor. So I ended up coaching all over Europe. From I went to Norway, to Slovenia, to UK, Scotland, Germany. So I've been all over the place, where I learned a lot about leadership, because the first trips that I guided, I was very insecure. I don't wanted to control everything. But that basically backfired big time, because by trying to control the group actually started to resist my guidance, started to resist my leadership, and it became harder and harder to create a fun day. Whereas where I grew as a leader, where I grew with my experience, it became easier. But the main thing that happened there was developing the art of coaching, getting back the fun in coaching, because I used to have it when I was younger. But one of the main events was another accident, was back in 2011, where I broke my collarbone. The rock was harder than my shoulder, so I smashed my collarbone in 4 pieces. And basically I couldn't do this movement even anymore. After 10 days in an arm support, I couldn't move anymore. And that whole recovery brought me back into the part of functional training, like gaining my strength, not just from the arm, from my shoulder, but from my whole body. From that point on, I integrated the functional training into my canoe coaching. So the next step that happened was another accident in 2016, where I fell down my staircase and I herniated my back. But I was so afraid of surgery, so I decided that I would do anything I could do to avoid surgery. That brought me down to an hour of training on average for the 2 years after, but it kept me clean of surgery and painful injections. And afterwards, I was able again to do 100 kilometer on the race bike, 4 kilometer swims, 15 kilometer trail runs. So my body was back to functioning normally and healthy, and it still is, by the way, today. And that brought me to the point like, oh, maybe I want to do something with this. And becoming a physiotherapist as a full-time education wasn't exactly an option. So I got into the personal training with focus on pain and injury prevention. By doing that, I learned that my clients and myself, there was still a lot of support and maintenance needed. So that was something that I was missing. And then I learned, that must be somewhere 2019, something about that time, that in Holland, the pain reset method, that there was a lot more related to chronic pain, and it was often induced by suppressed emotions or suppressed limiting beliefs, which was derived from the work of Dr. Sarno, former Dr. Sarno from the US. So we got into those emotions in whatever is underneath, but I immediately realized that it's way bigger than just emotions and chronic pain. It's about emo eating, it's about burnouts, it's about depressions, it's even, in my opinion, it's related to HDAD, ADD, ASS, all kinds of stuff that are actually a way to say like, oh, there's a lot of shit going on in my life that I don't know how to deal with it. So this is my way to express it. Now, the emotion, the pain reset method is very powerful, but it allowed people to remain in their heads. Um, so that way I went into breathing. So inner journey again in the Netherlands, where I got into a training course, Body Remembers Trauma and Breathing, where trauma is not just fixated in the body, and they're often talking about psoas, the muscle that starts here at the back of the ribs, through the belly to the upper legs. And it's being called in spiritual world the emotional muscle, but that muscle, the psoas, actually, when I go a step back to the functional training and the physical training, it is part of the deep frontal line. And the deep frontal line consists of the inner thighs, psoas, diaphragm, lung, heart are included, and then this big S in the neck is included. And that's basically, I curl myself up to protect myself. That's the line. So if there is tension in any place of this line, quite often the rest of the line is under tension as well. So, and the body holds that tension. So with Body Remembers Trauma and Breathing, you can either go through body work or through breathing, you can release some of that tension. Which works quite impressively, works well. But my own coach, a woman from Australia, Misha, she works, or she worked back in the time with neurotransformation therapy, which has been designed by Luke Hawkins, and I got the opportunity to learn that technique as well. And that is basically a practice where you go at the first experience of a certain thought or a certain emotion, and you look at that situation from another perspective, where you can see like what are the good things to learn from that situations instead of that one shitty you ended up remembering. After that, I got into touch with Joyce. Well, I knew Joyce already from the pain reset method, but she was into resonance, and I was like, first time I was like, fuck off with your singing balls, I'm not interested at all. But I ended up anyways doing her introduction, joining her introduction, and there was this diaphragm that was completely stuck, and Joyce told me like, oh, go ahead, release it. And I was like cocky, and I was going to release it, and I was like, fixed in no time, but I couldn't release it. And then Joyce took her pitchforks and she managed to get movement into that diaphragm. Then I started working on it, did my manipulations, and it actually released. And on that moment, I was sold. I was like, oh, I have to learn this. Now, I don't see resonance as me doing magic with your energy or whatever. I see the singing bowls and the pitchforks more as a tool that allows you to give yourself permission to go into certain emotions, to feel some things or to release some things, but it's not me manipulating or fixing your energy. So, that being said and done, what have I done with it and how did it evolve? Because since 2020, I've experienced some massive wake-up calls in my life, because I already had the collarbone fracture in 2011. Then I had the diaphragm or the lumbar spine injury in 2016. And from 2020 on, I have had a burnout. I've been fired from the job where I've been working for 12 years, and we ended our relationship of over 20 years, and I moved to a place where I know nobody. So, and all those things I had to process at the same time, so it brought up a lot of emotions, a lot of beliefs, and a lot of things to work on. And it's because of going through that and confronting those beliefs, confronting those emotions, that I actually grew as a person. I became stronger, I became more resilient, and the main thing is I also started to believe more and more in myself, and also believed to became more certain, more assertive in setting my own boundaries, in making my own choices, and following through in my own choices. So all those things happen because I have been confronting myself and doing this deep inner work and confronting my own stories and my own bullshit. And then in 2024, I got here Miss Evie, who's lying here right next to me, but you can't see her, which is my dog, which was yet another layer of feedback that I received, because she's reflecting back a lot of information to me about how I feel, but she also assists me in my coaching sessions. So she picks up emotions, she picks up beliefs, she picks up struggles of the people that we're working with, often before they even realize it themselves that something is going on. But she picks it up, I can see it in her reaction if I don't pick it up, or she confirms whatever I'm picking up. So we're actually a great team working together ever since. And now we're 2025, so that's basically my backstory of the past 10, 15 years.